building because we all build our own worlds in one way or another. So turn it to, let me turn it over.
So hi, I'm Martha Carr. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, great. And so the title of this is Supersized Collaborating, because that's really what it is. If you want to go to the next slide. And I'm the co-creator of the Or-Sarin universe with Michael Angeli. Go to the next slide. And so these are maps of the two worlds we created. That is Or-Sarin on the right, and in the U.S. And we did this on Fiverr, and it's very affordable. And when you supersize collaborate, or when you write more than one, I know Shane Silvers, he has 2 series that interconnect. One of the most common questions you'll get is, what should I read first? What comes next? And this is a really useful tool. And then if you post it on your website, you will draw the traffic in. And so this is a affordable art that you can do fairly early on. And I also want to make a quick shout out to A.L. Knorr, who's right there, way in the crowd. And Meg Jolly, who writes as Meg Calley. Where are you? There she is. Those are 2 of our Or-Sarin authors as well. So you're going to be a project manager. Does everyone know what a project manager is? Show of hands. Yes. Okay.
Parent.
Yeah, a parent. Yes, a parent. And you're going to be like a parent of a 13-year-old. Because that was Meg who yelled out, hey. And it's because you're going to have a lot of moving parts that have dates that must be met. And you have to be the one who keeps track of who's where and what needs to get done. And you will give as much autonomy as you can to each of the authors, because you have to. But at the same time, you will be the one who is keeping track of whether or not they hit it. And then going and saying politely and kindly, have you done it? And then helping them get to the place where they do it. And so you have to also be willing to be patient and have a sense of humor and to be kind. And to then let it go. You'll do a constant let it go. And so you want to create art to get people excited while you're building out your universe. At first, you don't have much to talk about except the backstory. And yet, excuse me, you need to build some enthusiasm for what you're doing. So you want to start with art. And so slide 1, start with the hook. You want to create a one-liner that makes people want to lean in to hear more. Because you're going to be talking first to authors, and you're trying to who have a series, who are writers already, and you're going to have to be able to tell them why they want to join you. And it's going to be the same as if you're trying to get readers involved. So much like they were telling you about the blurb yesterday, you don't want to give them at first a long synopsis, because we all know you don't even do that to an agent. You don't do it to the traditional world. You didn't do it to a publisher because they glaze over. So, Or-Sarin, magic is returning to our world, or history got it wrong, magic is real, or Cartharian, damn it, you think you know about werewolves and vampires, think again. So it has to also go along with your genre, and also it's a great thing to do, because as you do it, as you say it out loud, as you see what gets people excited, you'll know what your hook is when you finally get to the audience of readers. You'll have worked it out. The more you say it, the easier it gets. Next slide, please. Oh, shoot. He's ahead of me. That's my son, Libby. So you want to create a personal and a business budget. And this sounds like common sense, but I've seen lots of people pants it. Or they'll make a business budget and not a personal one, or a personal one and not a business one. And every dollar needs a job. If you do needabudget.com, they will teach you what that means. But it means that every last dollar you have to assign, even if it's to, this is your fund money. And you want to break it out so that you do know how much you have to work with. And I can tell you my own experience has been from doing that I ended up with more confidence to spend the money on marketing or whatever. I guess my go-to is to be cautious And as a matter of fact, someone realized how cautious I am, so they taught me to ask myself, will keeping this dollar change your life? And I've actually had to use that and tell myself, no, it won't, so I'll spend it. So having a budget helps me sleep at night, and it needs to be both sides. Mint is free. You Need a Budget is a pretty nominal one-time fee. And I like You Need a Budget because they also have half-hour classes they teach all the time that are interactive and online. And so you will come away knowing how to use the tool more efficiently. But I can't stress this enough. You can't say how, you know how they're always saying you must know your read-through and you must know your click per cost? This is the exact same idea. And if you don't know how much money you've got to work with, you can't say what you're going to spend on advertising because you have no idea how much money you have. On the flip side, they will also teach you that you have more than you think you do. And if you're getting started, start the right way. Also, when you've hit your financial ceiling for the month, stop. It's tempting to say, if I just spend a little more, maybe I'll make a little more. But as to be a good steward of your funds, you also have to do the opposite and know when you've done enough and have enough faith in the universe or whatever, that next month is a new month, and you don't want to sink yourself into a depressing hole where now you're desperate. So you want to be a good steward of your funds and include marketing as a line item. I've chatted with a lot of authors who are doing well and asked them how much they spend on marketing, and there's no one answer. So this is really going to come down to what you can afford, and you're just going to build from there. So you're going to see it as I think it was Michael Cooper's, or someone said they had 200 ads. I'm sure we all gasped when we heard that, running at any one time. And that's great, but that's not me. And so I'm okay with where I am, and I'm going to build from there. And when I can do more, I will. And every conference I come to, I learn more. So that also means that the ad money I spend will be spent more intelligently than if I dumped it all in at once. So it's okay to start from where you are, and you're still going to build. Next slide. So one of the things that we found the most daunting was art. Finding cover artists that we liked, who were affordable, who could fit into our timeline, because we tend to put out a book a month, and we have lots of writers at once. So we're asking people like Andrew Doble. Did I say your name right?
Yeah, Doble.
Oh, I said it fairly right. We're asking them to work really quickly at the same level of quality as someone who gets more time. And Michael and I maintain a rather healthy sense of humor, and the night before a book was coming out, we were joking around with the cover artist trying to get the cover done. We were laughing, he was not. And it got done, and nobody knew but us.
I want to say she wasn't laughing 6 hours before.
I
It took a fair amount of psychology to get her to the laughing stage.
don't remember that. So so also we made an error early on of getting really enthusiastic with an artist and not understanding that his strength was in a different genre. And we struggled with him for a while and paid a precious amount of money, and then had to part ways. And that's fine, it was a learning experience, but really investigate their covers, and does the majority of their work fit your genre, and be willing to say no and walk away. Because you're going to have some trouble finding artists who have the time and who are in your budget. Although, so it gets tempting to say, this will do. Don't do it. Covers are far too important. And set your expectations for delivery time, budget, and genre. For artists, build in an extra week ahead of when you want it, and don't tell them. Sorry, Andrew. Forget I said that.
You do understand the correct line.
Oh, am I in the way?
You're being filmed.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Hello. So you don't want it, because often they'll say in a panicked voice, I can't give this to you till 2 days after the due date. Is that all right? And you don't give it away, and you say, I can deal with that, which is true. And because you're going to need that extra week, but then you also need to do, with editors, it's even more important, because the editor is in direct contact with the writer, and you need to help the writer work it backwards. So you ask, when does this book, we use a team of readers, beta readers, and so I ask the person who works with the beta readers, when do you need the book, the published date is X, when do you need the book in order to get into the readers in time? I take that date and go to the editor. This is the date we have to have it. When do you need it by in order to have it done? We take that date and go back to the writer and say, you must deliver it to the editor. You have to help the writer, and you have to walk it back, and you're going to have to probably do it every time. I'd like to say that you don't, and that at some point you can take your hands off of it. That's not going to be true. And I work full-time, and I also manage a universe, and I write in the universe. So it can be done, but it's a commitment that it's a decision I made. I write during my lunch hour. I write early in the morning. I write at night. I write on the weekend. And it's a choice I made. People who are not writers feel sorry for me. I'm trying into my money. And I'm fine. It's a choice that I made. And I'm doing it because I know full well that at some point I'll be able to retire from the day job, which frankly I like quite a bit, and I like the people I work with, but I'll be able to retire from it, and then I'll look like a genius. How did I do that? You know. So that's how I did it. And you want to have 3 editors as well, because their life may get busy, they may have other things they need to do. You just really, what I'm saying is you don't want to be caught with nobody. And in order to have, so Michael has a certain style that he has taught to all the rest of us, which works very well for the audience that we have. That means we have to teach that to the editors as well, so that they are editing to that style. So this all takes time, and you want to have at least 3 people, so that if somebody is busy or has, they may have other writers they're working with not in their universe, that you have somebody else to turn to. And you just don't want to be caught scrambling. You want to, as a project manager, your really main goal is to reduce the panic at all times and keep the machine flowing. And it should look to everybody else like it was smooth as silk, even if you know the truth. And you forget the truth constantly.
Or you tell your partner about it.
Yeah, really. You call Michael and you try to say it in a funny tone. Guess what happened? And you want to always stay in touch and be very clear. So you want to give specific dates for when you want it delivered. You want to give notes that say exactly what you want to change. And if somebody says to you, maybe, might, should, probably, they did not answer you. So you do not get off the phone until you get an answer. And if you can never get an answer, then that is not someone you want to work with, because it will make your life hell. And I mean that. You really, with so many moving parts, you cannot have somebody crucial to the delivery of a book who cannot be, at least we're all adults. If you can't be accountable enough, and I'm more than happy to work with you, if you tell me you can't do it till here, that's what I'll build into the system. But if you can't, as an adult, tell me accurately, it's going to make everything else suddenly bunch up on the sides to accommodate you. And I can't do that. So keep in mind, if you hear those words, they have not answered you. Now, I find that when I start to then throw out dates, they will start to work with me till we get to an answer. And I will say it back to you. So this is the date you are going to deliver it. And I don't use I say half-assed words. Because I'm going to make sure that what you said is what I heard. And what I say, you heard it. And it still doesn't go without hiccups. I mean, there are constant hiccups. I'm just trying to reduce the hiccups so that it's as smooth as it possibly can be. We have a saint. His name is Stephen Campbell. And he runs the back office. And
Did you pay you to say that?
Well, we're on Facebook. Later on, when I screw up, Steve will have known I said this.
Zen Master Walking.
Zen Master Walking. And he is the one who, unfortunately, is the last stop. So that means it's all sliding downhill toward him. And so I am very aware that if I don't stay on top of my part, and there's a whole other universe, Cartharian, and within Cartharian there are many universes. So if I don't keep track of my shit, I'm making him do it for me. And I'm very aware of that. And I do not want to be the one who Stephen is having to wait on a book. He's having to push the JIT team. Erica, who's sitting up here, has kept my books straight. the most amazing thing, I'm on book 6. She will tell me, in book 2 on page 22, you said, and I'm thinking, what? And it's so. I'm very aware that when I don't do my part, I'm making somebody else do it. It will get done. And so I tried, not try. Try's not really an answer either. I do my best to help other writers see that their actions have consequences for all of us, so that we can all work together as smoothly as possible. My ultimate goal is to put out the best book we can for the readers. I adore our readers. They are rabid. And I mean, dear sweet Erica came dressed as the main character in my books. I don't know if you all saw that, but oh my God. And isn't it love? And then people write us all the time and say, I'm rereading all 5 books. I'm just about there, so I'm ready for book 6. You're rereading them all. So that's my ultimate goal, is to have this relationship like family with the readers. In order for that to happen, you have to be a really good project manager. And if you're going to start a universe, you cannot tell yourself you're a pantser. You're just going to have to give up that label and become somebody who's willing to be open to new ideas, because also the business will change very rapidly on you. So what you knew last week, suddenly you're going to change this week. And so with Michael will say, I have a great idea, and I'm just already ready to say yes. And I'm just going to figure out how we're going to do it. I'm not listening so I can talk him into not doing it or fixing it or changing it. We're just going to do it. And so as the project manager, I'm going to now figure out how to put this into what we're already doing. Okay, next slide. Thank you. So help readers see where you're going. This is the troll, and Michael tells people all the time the troll owns us. So in the beginning, we wanted a sidekick, which is in urban fantasy is a trope. And he said, make it a troll. And so I don't know why, but I thought it'd be funny if the troll swore. Because I swear, you might as well know. And his name is Youngfuck Tiberius Troll. And he is the most popular character in the whole series. His scenes rarely have anything to do with plot. No one cares. And we get a lot of veterans who are our fans, who read it because the troll helps them escape and it makes them laugh their head off. And then this is
Older people like cussing.
Well, yeah, that too. I cuss really artfully. And this is a Willen, and that's a rat-like Gorsian creature that can hide. It's a thief, and it hides things in the folds of its skin, and that's Michael's favorite character.
Liar. Now, so when we were talking about the troll, and I'm trying to express what's going on and what I see, she works with the artist that she had found, and in the beginning, what we were doing. And so I think I was on vacation or something.
And ill. You were on vacation and ill, so you were totally incommunicado.
Yeah, so we're going across Europe. We're in Paris or whatever, and I'm not feeling well. And then I get this really expensive drawing of shit.
I love it.
She's like, I love this troll.
It looks like a villain with a little bit of fur.
Yeah, no, it's butt ugly.
It was butt ugly.
And she's like, isn't this great?
Yeah.
And I'm just standing there, and I don't have the wherewithal to be happy about this. And I'm like, no, this is nothing like, it's like, we need something that's kind of cute like Gremlins, but has teeth. And so we ended up with this one, which I was happy with, but she was like, not really sure about this. And then it became a fan favorite. She's like, you're right.
Also,
say that again.
he showed me them. So about a month or two later, he showed me what I thought was wonderful, and I couldn't believe that I had liked it. It was butt ugly. He was right. So the reason why we did this was so that we could help readers more accurately see, and we made mugs out of it, and we give them as fan gifts all the time. And this right here, very, very useful to building a fan base. So don't ignore the side art. And so ahead of chapters also in the ebook where you're going to meet this character, you'll see these pictures. And our goal is to build super fans and who are in love with the characters, not the plots, the characters. And that's what makes people reread things. That's what makes them ask you 2 days after a book comes out, when's the next one? And make you feel like a month is asking too much. And so art is vital, but and then again, go to Pinterest to look for artists. And you will ask anybody you see that you like and give them your budget, and there's a very likely chance they will say yes. That's what I learned. Just because somebody, the gentleman who did these is an artist for, who does Star Wars?
George Lucas.
No, but the company.
Disney?
Disney?
Well, it's Disney now, yes, prior. But anyway, that he did work on artwork for Star Wars, and he did these. And our budget was not.
Industrial Light and Magic?
I think so. But anyway, so his budget for them was not his budget for us. And so you can never lose out by asking. Okay, next one. Create your backstory. What is the large story that can include every other story? And as Michael knows, I have a math learning disability and I cannot see numbers.
Now, Michael knows
Yeah,
now.
that's-
Michael did not know then.
No, well, I didn't know they would play such a crucial part. Because he kept saying, so 800 years ago and then 22,000 years, and I kept getting it screwed up, and he kept looking at me like, why can you not keep this straight? So finally I had to tell him. But you want to, so often in order, what you're doing is you're creating history. It's not the history of the earth, although in our idea, we used the history of the earth and combined it, which I love. I always like to mix reality. We do urban fantasy, that's another story, but we mix urban fantasy, so that's the reality with magic. And so we took like the pyramids and actual history, and we just said that was all a lie. And here's what it really means. And so our large backstory was that 800 years ago, there was an Atlantean named Rosden who was who felt bent out of shape, that no one appreciated who he was, because I don't want to give anything away. And so he created an uprising that was based more on you need to love me. And there was a great battle scene where he was defeated, but and then the other backstory was there are gates that open between Saturn and Earth every 22,000 years. You probably had it wrong. Is it 26,000?
25,800.
Whatever.
Please see comment about math earlier.
A long time ago. When these gates open, the two worlds are symbiotic to each other, and you can cross back and forth, and the magic for Saturn flows back to Earth. And so it's everywhere. And so this has happened before, and so therefore that's what created the pyramids. You want to create this entire lovely backstory that is got enough room for other writers to come in. So, for example, now we have Abby Lynn, who writes under A.L. Knorr, who has the Arpax and the Nyx, which are winged creatures. They look like people, bat wings or the beautiful bird wings. And if they come to Earth, those wings disappear because the magic is at a low, very, very low level. And so on the map, they're to the left of the Elf Kingdom. And then you can start to intersect, like I now mention Arpax and Nyx in what I do. And so you start to cross over. Characters from my book have appeared in Midwestern Chronicles. But you need the giant backstory that can involve everyone, that can intersect, so that the readers feel like there's a connection among everything. And it's kind of like saying if you didn't know Earth's history. Yes. Here he comes.
Well, no, because Mark will do this to me all the time. I'm going to stay outside so you get all the video. They can only hear me talk. No, speaking to what Abby Lynn and everything does, it's really important if you're going to do a collaboration to intersperse your characters across them. The fans love it. They feel like they have a situation where I know this character, they've invested the time in this other series, and now they get to see them here. So I think that's one of the things we learned in Criterion that we've also replicated in Saturn is just those characters, they don't have to do much, and you have to be careful with timelines. So you might want it to do it with some scene that has no relevance.
Right.
But it works out very well.
Yes. And so you also want to break the series up into 3 arcs of 4 each. And we do that so that if the author decides that they don't want to do this anymore after 4, the reader has a feeling of completion. And also it's too hard to come up with a storyline that could go for 12 books. And it's too hard on the reader. They want some kind of satisfaction at some point. So initially, in the beginning, before you start writing, we have these 3 smaller arcs that make up the 12-book arc. And then every 4 books, you can look up and say, do I want to keep going? Do I need to make adjustments? Is it even working? You know, you could do 4 books and look up and see it's kind of not so hot, and so you want to start over. And that's a great place to start because you have a feeling of completion. And as I spoke about before with a rapid release, if you did a rapid release, we're actually talking about 6 weeks later, you can look up and say, did it work? And so then what is the initial story that is tied to the giant story? So the Lyra Chronicles is has the origin story in it. It was the first series that Michael and I do. And it contains all the history. And again, a constant question we get is, where do I start? And that's where we can funnel people through. If you started with the Casey Chronicles, or if you started with the Soulstone Mage series, you won't feel like, what the hell just happened? But if you want a sense of history and you want to get the fullness, so we have a timeline on the website as well, where you can see where to start and what comes next. And that's vital. And a fan did it, which is wonderful. And you want that initial series tied to the theme, and you meet Rosden in our theme. You see what happens to Rosden. So one of the rules in a universe that's very helpful is you can use the items that somebody else has created. You can use, but you must use them the way they started them. You must check with them if you're adding to it. You can use an ethnic background like elves or gnomes in our case, but you cannot use somebody else's character. So we created Rosden, who looms large because of the backstory, but nobody else can use Rosden. It just gets too complicated. So that's something to keep in mind that you must reiterate to people more than once is you certainly can have light elves, but you cannot use the light elves that we are using. And since I got started, I got to use the king and queen, so sorry. And but you can, and then also at some point, another thing we learned is the first authors who come in and say, can I create a kingdom over here? And you're like, sure. But at some point, pretty quickly, you realize the world is only so big. And you can't let people keep saying, I'm going to create an entirely new kingdom over here. And so you start having to talk to people and say, you need to work within what is already created. And they can do it. And then you also, as the project manager, you are probably the only person who has all the details. And so you are working out the beats with the different collaborators to make sure that it fits. Like Meg had an idea for, what was it? With that I had to break, well, she had an idea for her characters, and I had to break the news to her that Soulstone Mage series was that the witches got, their magics. And I said, well, that's great, but it's already being done. Yeah. And so she has to go back to the drawing board and come up with it. And so she didn't have her heart broken when she already had a 60,000 word book. You know, this was at the very beginning. So you were keeping track of all that. However, next slide. You are creating a story Bible with all the details. We use Storyshop.io, and we ask all the authors to regularly contribute to it. Storyshop is really great because it has a navigation system as well, so that it cross-references. And but we also ask all the authors to check with me before they put things in there, so that we don't suddenly find there's a lot of things that don't exactly go with our vision, and or that interferes with a plot line we know is coming up. But it started early, and we have artifacts in there. We have insects, we have flora and fauna, as well as characters, even minor characters, and we have all the ethnic backgrounds. So also, if a writer is kind of stuck, they can go to Storyshop and look around and see what they might be able to dip into for their own story. So it's vital that you do that. And you want to create a means to communicate online with each other. This is also one of the things I love most about doing this, because I started in traditional publishing about 30 years ago. And I had a lot of course, author friends traditionally published, but you were always kind of your own little island. There wasn't enough sharing of information, and I just don't think we knew how to do it or what to share. And there's so little transparency in the traditional world that you're not even sure what to share. But we use Slack. There's also Zoom is a way to conference with each other. But because we have Slack and it has multiple channels, some of them, and you can create private channels, we have created a community, and we have channels for marketing, we have channels for covers, we have channels for audio, we have channels to goof off, and I have a community. And we talk about everything. We even, somebody is sick, we all know it, we rally around them. Somebody's, Meg's having a baby, we all know it, and we're all cheering her on. Somebody's first book comes out, and we're there buying the book, sharing the book for them. And it's just such a wonderful, uplifting camaraderie that is created by having an internal system. And also, it's a quick way for me to check in and say, how's the book coming? When I can feel the date looming and I've not heard from you and I'm wondering, and why is that? So you need to create a means to intercommunicate. And the artists are on there, the editors are on there, anyone who deals with our universe is in Slack. Matter of fact, it's one of the things that we ask them, are you willing to talk to us in Slack? If you're not, it's really not going to work out for us.
We did have that situation occur. From a business perspective, everybody has the ability to say how they wish to communicate. In the situation that we had, we were working with a cover artist, and they chose to work with what they were used to, which was email. And my explanation was, I'm not willing to do that.
Yes.
I already have too big of a situation going on. We are in Slack. I can understand and respect you choose not to be in Slack, but we will choose not to work with you. That seems pretty fair to me. So we do focus in Slack, and I'll talk more about this afternoon.
Okay, and let me quickly mention too, when somebody says, I can't do that, you don't want to be working with them anyway, because our experience is they bring the drama. People who are wonderful to work with are also say, sure. So you really want to listen to that gut inner voice. This is a lot like dating. And when the red flag pops up, pay attention. So next slide, please. So this is we had this art created by Andreas Roca, one of the sexiest men alive. You only have 5 minutes, Michael.
She would actually go, I get to talk to Andre.
He had the deepest voice, Andreas Roca. Anyway, I digress. So you can't, this is painted. This is completely painted. And he does the Lego boxes. Again, he worked with our budget, so I learned, ask. And it's the most beautiful painting, and this was one of the first things we created, so we had something to put on our website. And that's what you want to do, is you want to start building the world. Okay, next slide. Now you're ready for authors. Michael and I, you can learn from us, we swore in February that we would not ask any authors till July. 2 weeks later, Anderly calls and says, I already asked somebody, sorry. And I said, oh, well, then I've got somebody. And he said, okay, well, then I have another person. I said, okay, I've got somebody else too. So suddenly we had 4 authors, and we hadn't really done much. And I would say, don't do that. It's a little tough. We did it, but if we had it to do over again, I think we would have started.
It would have been better for our collaborators if we hadn't done that, so that they would have more in the beginning. They wouldn't have to wait for us.
Which they did. So you want to look for people who are already writing in your genre. You want to check out their Amazon, Facebook, and author pages. You're really not looking to open an academy of writing. So you're looking for people who can work with you, who already know some of the ropes. They don't necessarily need, all boats will rise together. So that's fine too. But you want some amount already under their belt. And you want a contract that spells out everything, including if the universe is sold or ends. So you're not friends, you are working together. You become friends and you're friendly, but this is a business relationship, and treat it with respect. Respect means a contract. And you want to do it in the very beginning when there is not skin in the game. And also, it is the fastest way to cure I said and you heard. Because when they look at the contract, that's when you will hear that I thought it meant this. And that's great. I want to know where there's confusion, and the contract will help spell it out. Next slide. Now you're going to start. So you want to be brave and invite those first authors. Remember, this will always be a collaboration. So an author may say, this is too fast for me. I need to do a book every 8 weeks. That's fine. We will also point out to you that your income will be directly tied to how quickly you do produce, which is fine. But but we're going to point out the realities to you also, because our target audience is whale readers, people who read very rapidly all the time, and they migrate like a sea of fish towards who writes fast. And if you stay away too long, you are then having to remind them all over again that you exist, and it's tough. And if you just keep it going, Craig posted this wonderful post from 20 Books you may have seen on being a blue-collar author, and it's true. If you are saying to yourself, I'm going to target whale readers, and you can just make the commitment, and and it fits with your life, and this is something you want. It's not the only way, by the way. I'm not saying it's the only way to be so, not at all. But if this is what you choose, then just being consistent, you will find that it does amazing things for you. Remain flexible and open to ideas because change will be absolutely constant and rapid. And it is all data. So that's something I remind myself of as well. I take my own ego out of it as best as I can. And I tell myself all the time that when the data comes in, what needs to be changed and what's actually okay. And I do rely on Michael a lot for that too, because I can also fall into the trap of comparing myself to somebody who's been doing it longer, wonder why I'm not where they are. And it's because they've been doing it longer. And I'm not enjoying the success I do have. And so after our first few books were out, I had a neighborhood potluck. And Michael came and, 20 Books people, I invited people from 20 Books, it was fun. And so you want to celebrate every success, every step of the way. Do not do destination living where you say, I will be happy when, because you will never get there. You want to celebrate that you managed to get the universe started. You want to celebrate that the website's up and running. And you want to celebrate that the first books are out. I did say to him, I knew that if the first books came out and flopped, this would be a sad little potluck. But fortunately, they did super well. So, last slide. So I want to get to this. So 6 months later, we have 22 books and 2 shorts out, 31,210 books sold, and 17,110,171 pages turned. And these are the covers for the Lyric Chronicles. They are the 3rd covers that we did in 6 months. 3. And, as much as...
If you fail the first time, spin and spin some more.
What's sad, too, we got better at it, and these are the least expensive by far. But now we're really happy with them. And you just, you get smarter, you get better, and this is what Eric came dressed as, by the way. I'm super impressed by that. And there's the troll on the shoulder. So, we did this in 6 months, even with all the adjustments we made that no one saw from the outside, that we were back there scrambling. This is what we've managed to accomplish so far. And it also, by the way, every author so far is now a bestseller, and more than once. So this can be you. Main thing I want to stress, 2 things. It's a commitment, so walk into it knowing that. And 2, if you're not having fun, don't do it. It's so much work, and there will be moments where, like Michael says, I talk him off the ledge, and then fortunately we never do it at the same time. He talks me off the ledge. So there are moments like that. So you need to be having fun. And I'm also 58. I like it when Steven's in the room because then I'm not the oldest. And this is also to remind you that all you've got to the day you're in. So it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how many years you've been doing it or haven't been doing it. You truly have just today. So what can I reasonably accomplish today? Is there any fun mixed in? Because there should be. And then just go out and do it. And if it's not what you hoped for, find out some smart people to go ask why. And adjust. And thank you very much.